Greetings everyone. So recently I posted a video on special reports in light of Bible prophecy that have just transpired recently. And that was based upon the famous evangelical speaker Kenneth Copeland, who is seen here endorsing the message of Pope Francis, the Papal Church, and Tony Palmer, the late Tony Palmer, that the process is now over and that we are all now one. Now I guess the timing could not have come at any better time, because the 31st of October has marked the date of 500 years of the Reformation anniversary, a time when Martin Luther nailed his 95 Theses on the door of Wittenberg. And those theses were based on the errors that needed to be addressed when it comes to Bible truth. Errors that the Catholic Church was spreading to the masses. Now friends, based upon the things that I'm going to show you in this video, I cannot help but express the signs of the times that we surely are in. And as we go through the information in this video, you're going to see exactly what I mean. Now we are told in the book of Revelation of two beasts which in the Bible represents kingdoms. Now I don't necessarily have time to go through it all now, but those two beast powers represent one, the Catholic Church, and none other than the United States of America. Now I will leave a link in the description box below to show you this study, which is going to show everything in more detail. Now in Revelation chapter 13 we are told that this power lost its power in the year 1798, but will once again regain its power, where the entire world will wander after it has been fully healed. And friends, it is happening even now. Now with everything that I've researched and everything that I've studied out, I want to sum up the agenda, the entire agenda of the Catholic Church in 3 simple steps. And in these steps you're going to see how it regains its power stealthily. Phase number 1, get the whole world on board. Now when one looks at Pope Francis, based upon all the pictures and everything that the media portrays, one can't help but like his persona, his humility as described. But one thing that people fail to realize is that Pope Francis is a Jesuit. And when you look at the history of the Jesuits, we are told that the reason they were erected was to do one thing and one thing only. They were summoned by the Catholic Church to destroy the Protestant Reformation. And one of the main ways in which they used to do this, and still do this, is by the way they portray themselves to the world. Their nice, humble, gentle exterior. And through this exterior, he has governmental leaders, as well as people in general, flocking after him with statements like he is the man of the year. Also, the BBC in 2016 calling him the world's popular man. I even remember at one point, ex-President George Bush, when he was asked about what he saw in the eyes of the Pope, this was his reply.
You said famously, when you looked into Vladimir Putin's eyes, you saw his soul.
Yeah.
When you look into Benedict XVI's eyes, what do you see?
God.
So phase 1, get the whole world on board, and now move to phase 2. Phase 2, get other religions on board. Now what I want to do is show you this video clip showing how he has even accomplished this aim as well. And the video that I'm going to show you right now shows exactly how every single religion has one thing in common, which is therefore now aiming to bring everybody together. Notice this video.
La mayor parte de los habitantes del planeta se declaran creyentes. Esto debería provocar un diálogo entre las religiones. No debemos dejar de orar por él y colaborar con quienes piensan distinto.
Confío en Buda.
Creo en Dios.
Creo en Jesucristo.
Creo en Dios, Alá.
Muchos piensan distinto, sienten distinto, buscan a Dios o encuentran a Dios de diversa manera. En esta multitud, en este abanico de religiones, hay una sola certeza que tenemos para todos. Todos somos hijos de Dios.
Creo en el amor.
Creo en el amor.
Creo en el amor.
Creo en el amor.
Confío en vos para difundir mi petición de este mes. Que el diálogo sincero entre hombres y mujeres de diversas religiones conlleve frutos de paz y justicia. Confío en tu oración.
Now, based upon what you've seen in this video, this same spirit has now pushed even Catholic ministers to call God Allah, even letting his congregation call God Allah, just to show that we are all the same when it comes to believing in God. But it just comes through another different path and a different avenue in which to reach God. One way or another, it seems to me that the Catholic Church is trying to push his agenda all the way to the forefront so that every single person in this world follows after him, thus fulfilling a one world religion. And so that brings us to the next and final phase. Phase 3 gets the Protestants on board. Now, I posted a video explaining the vision of Tony Palmer, the late Tony Palmer, whose speech won the praises of evangelical leaders, including head evangelical minister Kenneth Copeland. He brought forward that the Lutheran Church in the year 1999 signed the agreement that there is no longer a need of a protest because the Catholic Church now believes in justification by faith. And as there's no need of a protest, why are we even Protestants? Essentially saying, because there's no protest, you can now become Catholics again.
Catholic means if you're born again, raise your hand if you're born again. You're a Catholic. Take back, redeem what belongs to you.
But now this is the whole point of this anniversary of the Reformation. Was Luther's protest actually finished? The answer is no. Well, what about the other 94 theses? What about the selling of indulgences, praying to Mary who is actually dead, worshipping idols, and so on? Are not these imperative as well? Now, I give more information on this video, which I invite you all to watch. The video will be in the description box below, or if you search Pope Francis, Christian Unity, Tony Palmer, Kenneth Copeland, Prophecy Fulfilled, you will find that video. Now, following along in the theme of the Reformation, the 500 years Reformation anniversary, there was an article written in the Catholic Herald which may cause some people to realize this is really seriously happening. It says, somewhere in Pope Francis's office is a document that could alter the course of Christian history. It declares an end of hostility between Catholics and Evangelicals and says the two traditions are now united in mission because we are declaring the same gospel. The Holy Father is thinking of signing the text in 2017, the 500th year anniversary of the Reformation, alongside evangelical leaders representing roughly 1 in 4 Christians in the world today. Now, as I'm reading this, I can only be reminded of something that I read in Galatians chapter 1. And that talks about people who follow another gospel. Not only follow another gospel, but those who believe this gospel are accursed. But when you notice the language in phase 2 of the 3 phases that I spoke about, we can see that this gospel is the ecumenical gospel coming together on one doctrine. And that doctrine is simply love. And friends, this is really important for you to understand because it shows that the ecumenical movement is not a movement that is pushing people forward, but pushing people forward into error. So friends, if we really look at this on a prophetic point of view, phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3 are simply there to push forward the agenda of the papacy, taking everybody along with it, fulfilling a one world religion.
En el mundo actual, muchos cristianos de diversas iglesias trabajan juntos al servicio de la humanidad necesitada, para la defensa de la vida humana y de su dignidad, de la creación y contra las injusticias. Este deseo de caminar juntos, de colaborar en el servicio y en la solidaridad con los más débiles y los que sufren, es un motivo de alegría para todos. Uní tu voz a la mía para pedir por todos los que contribuyan con la oración y la caridad fraterna a restablecer la plena comunión eclesial al servicio de los desafíos de la humanidad.
It's the glory that glues us together, not the doctrines. If you accept that Christ is living in me and the presence of God is in me and the presence of God is in you, that's all we need. Because God will sort out all our doctrines when we get upstairs.
And through the guise of the ecumenical movement, the care for humanity, the care for the environment and the health of our planet, Martin Luther's work of protesting against Rome has now been cut short rather than ended. And one of the biggest guises when it comes to this is the fact that they erected a monument in Vatican City about Martin Luther of his accomplishments. This article says the following. It says, next month a hilltop square in Rome is due to be named Piazza Martin Lutero in memory of Luther's achievements. Now I'm sure you can understand that when they are praising Martin Luther, even though Martin Luther was against them, it kind of makes them look as if they are the good guys and Martin Luther was a radical. And again, this is all part of the humble exterior expressed in what we know about the Jesuit history. And friends, remember about the history of the Jesuit? This is all part of the humble exterior that they are using to push forward to the world. So friends, as we come to some closing points, I believe it's best that we now just understand what is the full agenda of the papacy. What is the agenda of everything that's been transpiring in the 31st of October, marking the 500th year of the Reformation? Well, the best place to see this agenda is based upon the Bible. Revelation chapter 13 verse 16 and 17 says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So what is the agenda of the Roman Catholic Church? The agenda of the Church is simply to usher in the mark of the beast, which I will tell you is enforced Sunday worship. Now the subject of the mark of the beast has already been covered in some of my previous videos. Please have a watch to the end of this video because it's extremely important. You will see all the information that's available. The link will also be in the description box below. Now the spirit of this enforced Sunday worship, which is going to be the mark of the beast, is not going to be something that is going to be pushed forward to the people in fear and terror. Rather, it's going to be something that's going to be for the betterment of mankind, something that will be seen as something very convenient for us to follow. In fact, John Paul II mentioned in his encyclical known as Dies Domini, he mentioned the way in which Sunday laws were to be exercised and brought forward to the people. Through Sunday rest, daily concerns and tasks can find their proper perspective. The material things about which we worry give way to spiritual values. In a moment of encounter and less pressured exchange, we see the true face of the people with whom we live. Even the beauties of nature, too often marred by the desire to exploit, which turns against man himself, can be rediscovered and enjoyed to the full. Therefore, also in the particular circumstances of our time, Christians will naturally strive to ensure that civil legislation respects their duty to keep Sunday holy. Now this was mentioned in the year 2006, but that spirit has now carried on even through the rest of the popes, Pope Benedict and now Pope Francis. Pope Francis also urges the same thing, using the term Jewish Sabbath to relay his message as well. Though the Bible never refers to it as the Jewish Sabbath, because the Sabbath day had been established from the very beginning of creation before there was even a Jew. And because of that, God's Sabbath will forever be the sign that he is creator and that he is also the redeemer of mankind. But now as you read Pope Francis's message, notice the very key point that is mentioned, and that's going to bring about something which we should all take serious heed to. Notice. On Sunday, our participation in the Eucharist has special importance. Sunday, like the Jewish Sabbath, is meant to be a day which heals our relationships with God, with ourselves, with others, and with the world. Now friends, this is very important for us to realize, because now we're seeing that Sunday is something that is used to benefit everything in this world. Almost to the point that if Sunday is not used in this society, it may end up even destroying this whole world. Now I want you to notice something very important, because Pope Francis not only mentions about healing between mankind, but he also talks about the world itself. And if you follow along with some of the things that Pope Francis has said, you'll notice that he has this very big urge about climate change. And so I guess the question that must be asked then is, what does climate change have to do with any of this? Does it have any prophetic utterances? Can we understand why it's even going to be an issue in the last days? Well, before we answer that, I want you to notice what this article says about how much of a benefit Pope Francis is, even when it comes to the President of the United States, Donald Trump. Notice. On May the 24th, a grim-faced Pope Francis handed a signed copy of Laudato Si to President Donald Trump during his visit to Rome. The United States President, who has called climate change a hoax, promised to read the papal encyclical, a spiritual and secular plea to save the earth from environmental destruction. Now notice the next things. A week later, Trump announced plans to yank the US out of the 2015 Paris Agreement, whose prelude was influenced by the principles embodied in Laudato Si. In doing so, Trump repudiated 195 nations' pledges to reduce their carbon footprint to mitigate the worst effects of climate change. He repudiated Pope Francis and his encyclical as well. 2 years after the release of Laudato Si, and long after its intense global attention has faded, it's worth asking, is the uncompromising and unprecedented Catholic teaching document fulfilling Vatican expectations by uniting leaders of all faiths, along with their billions of congregants, to the decisive climate action in care for our common home? The answer is a qualified yes. Based on the evidence from interviews with a range of faith leaders, recent conferences, signed pledges, and a host of concrete actions, large and small, in congregations and seminaries around the world. There is an assumption that if religious leaders let the Pope talk about environmental protection, it will usher in rapid, large-scale change, said Fletcher Harper, Executive Director of Greenfields. Now friends, I want you to understand this fact that if the Pope has a voice when it comes to religious world matters as well as political world matters, to then be able to talk about environmental matters, we must understand that this is all pointing forward to the mark of the beast crisis. Now, one book I highly recommend for all of you to read is the book The Great Controversy, and this was written in the year 1888. This book shows all the plans of Pope Francis and America and taking everything step by step to see what they're doing. Now, the highlighted step on how climate change will usher in the mark of the beast is also in this book, and I'm going to read a quote based on how all of this is going to transpire. And it even talks about the protest movement. Notice, in accidents and calamities by sea and by land, in great conflagrations, in fierce tornadoes and terrific hailstones, in tempests, floods, cyclones, tidal waves and earthquakes, in every place and in 1,000 forms, Satan is exercising his power. He sweeps away the ripening harvest, and famine and distress follow. He imparts to the air a deadly taint, and thousands perish by the pestilence. These visitations are to become more and more frequent and disastrous. Destruction will be upon man and beast. The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The haughty people do languish. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Now notice what the rest of the quote says. It says, and then the great deceiver will persuade men that those who serve God are causing these evils. The class that have provoked the displeasure of heaven will charge all their troubles upon those whose obedience to God's commandments is a perpetual reproof to transgressors. Then it says, it will be declared that men are offending God by violation of the Sunday Sabbath, that this sin has brought calamities which will not cease until Sunday observance shall be strictly enforced, and that those who present the claims of the fourth commandment, which is the true commandment, the Sabbath day, thus destroying reverence for Sunday, are troublers of the people, preventing their restoration to divine favor and temporal prosperity. So friends, we can see based upon the three phases that the Pope is actually pushing forward his agenda. And with the next agenda that we've just seen with climate change, when you're seeing this huge emphasis, this huge push on trying to save the climate, we can see exactly where things are going under the prophetic eye. And so the point of reflection is for all of us to ask ourselves, are we serving God with our whole heart? Or are we just letting everything just take over? Are we taking serious time to study prophecy? Or are we just allowing the cares of life to just distract us? All the gadgets, all the little things that just try and ease away our time, that we miss the vital importance that's to save our lives at the end. And so friends, I can conclude by saying that the process is still going on. The spirit of Martin Luther's process is still going on as strong as ever, because Revelation chapter 14 verse 8 and Revelation chapter 18 verse 2 are still in the Bible as signs of the last days. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. And Great Controversy, page 148 says, the Reformation did not, as many suppose, end with Luther. It is to be continued to the close of this world's history. So friends, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I really pray that you take these things on board, and also pray for this ministry. This ministry is based upon trying to let people know about the things that are happening in this world. And for those who want to support this ministry, you can subscribe, you can share this video, and please check out all the other links in the description box, which will help us spread forward the gospel and let people know about the signs of the times, especially the times that we surely are living in. And so friends, I urge each and every one of you to realize that the protest is not over. The protest will continue until the end of time. But make sure that your life is protesting against the things that are not of God, and that your life is also living the things of God. And that we may say, even if the whole world goes against us, we may repeat the same words that Joshua said. Choose ye this day who you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Alright friends, God bless each and every one of you, and remember, Christ is coming soon. Bye for now.